Well, hi everybody. So, you know us. We bump into some pretty cool stuff and have for 35 years. And anytime we can bump into a pre-World War I Martin, it's a big deal. Martin is really one of America's oldest family-owned companies. It's the great-great-great-great-grandson of the original owner. And Martin left Germany to start in America like a lot of people did, and started first in 1833 in New York City. So within a few years after that, he moved from New York to Pennsylvania. And for those of you that know your geography, that's not a very long ride. You get on your horse, you know, you've all done that. You get on your horse and it takes a good day's ride to get out to Pennsylvania, yeah? So, but they still marked all of these guitars as New York made in New York. And that was true from 1833 through the Civil War. Imagine that too. The Civil War was in 1860s. Martin was like 40 years old during the Civil War. This is a long history of making flat top guitars. Gibson didn't start making flat top guitars until the 1920s. So they were 100 years behind Martin in making flat top guitars. Martin is and was the premier flat top guitar maker in the world. So Martin's always had a reputation for a fine musical instrument, and they didn't make many back then. In 1898, and that's how old this is, in 1898, they made 350 guitars, total. All the guitars combined, 350 guitars. And you can look at Martin's serial numbers from year to year. You can subtract 1 year from the previous year and know how many they made because they're sequential in their serial numbers. And that's an interesting fact. 350 in 1898. In 2023, they made 350 plus 87,000. So 350 guitars a year, now they make 87,350, give or take. So this is a Style 27. And we had this before, and our friend Tone Monster did a video on this because it came to us and it had a hole patched up here. Now, I want you to try to find that hole right up at the top. There you go, keep looking. Keep looking. Yeah, right, that's what I thought. We really did a great job. We have several really world-class repair guys, and there is a patch there. There was a thumb-size hole that came there. The top had kind of come up because somebody had put steel strings on it. Now, most of these guitars from this time period up until about 1926 were always gut strings, and nylon strings have a little less tension. Right now, this has silken steel. So these high strings are steel. These wound strings have a core of silk strands, and that is something to give you less tension and makes these guitars much more usable. It's a real soft, buttery sound, and it's quite a bit louder than you might imagine being a guitar like these. These guitars are made very thin wood along the sides, back and sides, and this is Brazilian rosewood, a book-matched Brazilian rosewood back and sides, as they still do today, where they open up the wood like a book. The sides are also book-matched, and an Adirondack top. This is a Style 27. Now, they made a Style 28 that was $28. It was normally a little bigger. This is a Style 27, which has this beautiful pearl and then what they called ivory up to the nut, meaning the neck was bound. It is a cedar neck with a definite V on the back. And you can see the logo up here, being an old Martin. And this has been through the shop, so we got it. It was in pretty rough shape, as they'll come when something's 125 years old. you're going to expect to have some sort of repairs. We repaired the bridge plate, we reset the neck, the guitar is all ready to go and to play, and it is a piece of American history that is significant. When you think of other collectibles, just collectibles, things you don't play, stamps, comic books, old cars, imagine having an old gas-powered or steam-powered car. When you think of collectibles like that, it's all about American history. We're lucky because our collectibles are musical instruments, and they're something you can make. It's really it's feather light, it's a really rich sounding guitar. So the sizes on these, this is a size 2, all right? So they made a 5, and that was the smallest. A 4 was the next smallest. When you got into a size 1, that was the largest guitar of the day. These style 27s typically came in this size 2. This is kind of the average size instrument in the time period. They didn't invent a dreadnought until the 30s, and then just a few years later they made the super jumbo size O. So again, they went from 5, which is a terse, a small guitar, 4, 3, 2, they made a 1, which was bigger than this, and they made then an O, and there is a bit of blending that comes on when you get into these O's. Oddly, then as the instrument became more and more popular, these guitars got bigger and bigger and bigger. So there was an O, a double O, triple O, and then we get into the dreadnought, and so on into modern guitars, but this is pre-modern guitars, and this is really a significant thing. We're happy to have this, and as I'm speaking to you, I'm going to have another video that I'll show some of the wood and some of the detail on this, but this is finally here. This is really an advanced collectible. It's a gorgeous example. If you're into the acoustic guitar, if you're into American guitars, you want to consider this. Being there's only 350 a year, we don't see many. Many of these were worthless. 10, well, let's say 15 to 40 years ago, these just weren't worth all that much money, and now people are investing in fixing these up like we've done, and as a musical instrument, they just sound great. The last thing I'll say, well, maybe second last thing I'll say, each of these bridge pins are individually made. That is the bridge pin for the high E and only the high E. You can't mix these up. They're individually made. They are elephant ivory. And as bad as that is, this is part of the history and part of what they did. We replaced this bottom piece that went missing with standard plastic, but it is all ivory bound and a piece of that American history. So there you go. For those of you that love Martin like we do, it's just exciting to see something that's 125 years old, back alive and healthy and ready to make music. And on that note, we'll let you go.